Is your chord playing getting predictable? Maybe a bit boring? Today we're going to talk about easy ways to spice up those old tired chords and make some beautiful sounds. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to this episode of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be. And if you are new here, make sure you subscribe to this podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Play Guitar Coaching. This is my personal guitar lessons program. Well, it's a lot more than that. It's not just the lessons. Coaching is different. It's fun. It allows me to solve a lot of the issues that we talk about every week on the show. I can take a good look at what you've been doing and help steer you out of the ditch that you've created for yourself. And then I get to keep you in the fast lane where you'll get used to and you'll start to expect big goals being knocked down one after another. And I've made sure that there's a lot more to it than that too. There's a weekly element of group classes that's involved for just for coaching students, and that's a shared learning experience. So, but even if you don't want to directly participate in that, just watching it, it's really, really beneficial for you. And that's all on top of our one-on-one sessions. Before we get started, I want to give a quick thank you to everyone who sent in their congratulations on last week's episode 300 and 1 million downloads. We've been creating something here. We've been doing something really cool. It's turning it. You just stick with something long enough and and see what happens, right? But I really appreciated it, and it's all because of you. So thank you very much again. And let's talk some chords. Let's get into this one quickly today. How was it when you first learned your first chords? They're pretty cool. Really cool when you first learned them. And then as you see that you start to use the same chords in a lot of different songs, they start to lose something. They start to become old hat. They lose their magic. And as you get familiar with them, you start to get into routine. You start playing them the same way over and over again in different songs. It doesn't take very long to fall into the chord rut. Well, I am here to tell you, brother or sister, it doesn't have to be like that. Just open your ears. Listen to all of the great music out there and all the different special sounds that you can get from just making some very easy adjustments over some very easy basic chords. So today we're going to jump into this. I don't want this to go long. I want this to be big value really quickly. I've got 3 tips for you that you can go home, you can pick up the guitar and instantly make your chords sound more interesting, more beautiful. One of the fantastic things about playing the guitar is we have these open strings that we can use at any time. And we can do that in several different ways. We can use open strings. The first way we're going to talk about with open strings is sliding the chord up. I'm sure you've done this before. It's the old trial and error trick. Slide it up, see what happens, right? No one's listening. Let's see what this one sounds like. It's been the vehicle for a lot of smiles over the years. You slide a chord somewhere it's not supposed to be, and you get something that sounds really good, and it's like the jackpot, right? Ding, ding, ding. So what's the easiest chord we can do to slide the things up? Let's try D. So the regular old triangle-shaped D major chord down at the 2nd fret. Let's slide it up to the 7th fret. We didn't have to learn anything. Just slid the chord into a different place. Now we have the top. So we have F, A, and C, right? With a D in the bass. Then we're going to slide up to the 9th fret. It's like a G chord with a D in the bass, with a 5th in the bass, right? And back to D. I'd say that's a beautiful sound. I think it's pretty cool, and it's more of a drone-based type sound, right? But we can do it with other chords too. What's another easy one to do this? Let's try E. Okay, so here's our E major chord, just regular open E chord. Let's do this a little different. Let's go to the 6th fret, right? And that's basically like an A chord with an E in the bass, and then the B and the high E string there gives it an add 9 type sound, right? So it's like an A major add 9 with the E in the bass, and then we have B. So if we slide up 2 more frets, so now my little E shape is up at the 8th fret. It's like it's a B chord when we have the E and the B up top, right? Back to open E. So very simple things you can do that instantly start making some chords sound pretty neat. So our next one, we're going to take some of this idea. We're going to have a couple open strings, but we're going to use a bar chord and slide that around. Let's play an A bar chord right here at the 5th fret, just the regular E-shaped A bar chord. And what we're going to do is we're going to let up on the high 2 strings. We're only going to press down with the first finger on the low string. And that's going to open up the high B and high E string. So it is an A chord with a B that would make it an add 9 chord, and then the E on top, which is the 5th, right? Very cool, an A add 9 chord. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this twice. So we'll play that twice. Now we're going to slide the whole thing up another 2 frets. So now we have a B chord, right? So we have a B major with an E in it, an 11 type sound over top of a major chord. Here's the A with the open 2 strings. Back to the open E. Now let's try putting this at the 1st fret. Very interesting sound. So if we take a look at the F chord, we have F, C, F, A. So that's an F major chord. And then we have a B, right? That's like a Lydian sound. It's like a sharp 4 type sound. And then we have the high E string. And so that gives us a major 7th. So it's a very neat sound. How about another way that we can easily make our chord shapes sound really, really nice? One thing is changing the tuning on the guitar. I've detuned my low E string down to a D. And we're going to start to use that to get some different sounds. So here is, I'm going to make a regular D chord. Now I've got this very low D sound right there. Now we're going to slide this D chord around. Let's go up to the 9th fret. Now, instead of sliding that around, I'm going to try and get a G chord out of this low. And what I've done is I'm pressing 1 finger down on the low E string at the 5th fret, and then playing the open 3 strings, just like the 3 open strings of a G chord. And back to D. So the whole... Got a really nice low sound, very kind of, it's got a cool mood to it. It's almost like a spooky kind of sound to it there. And it was easy. All we did was detune one of the strings. So those are the easy ones. Let's move on to something a little bit more complicated. It uses a little more harmony in that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding some extensions to chords. You may not have heard of that before, but you've heard some kind of crazy chord names like 13s and 9s and 11s, and you might wonder what those are. Extensions, I like to think of them as decoration notes. These are notes that are in the chords that are non-functional. If they're there or they're not, it doesn't change the way the chord works. If they're altered, it doesn't change the function of the chord. If you remember, when we build chords, we like to jump every other note, the 1 to the 3 to the 5. And build your functional notes of the chord. What are extensions? Well, these are the other notes. These are the notes that we've jumped, that we weren't using. So we can take some of these notes, as long as the other notes are there and functioning, these can come in and out as decorations in different situations. Let's do an easy one today. We're going to do the 9th. I like to call it raising the roof. We are raising the root. Okay, so raise the roof. What we're going to do, we're going to add a 9th to that. So I'm going to play a regular old G chord. And this is a 4-finger G. So I've got the 3rd fret on the low, 2nd fret on the A, 3 open strings, and then the 3rd fret on the high E and the B string. Okay, so we're going to play this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our second finger that's on the A string, we're going to slide it over to the second fret of the G string. What have we done? We've taken the open G string and we've raised it 2 frets. Very cool sounding chord. It has a lot of interest in it. There's a lot of cool things going on with that. When we raised the root note 2 frets, that put us on the 9th. This is called a G major add 9 chord. If it was a 7th chord, if it had a 1, 3, 5, and 7, if you added that 9th, then you would call it a 9th chord. This is just the crazy way that these things are called. But this is called a G add 9 chord. We've added a 9th on top of it. And we still have a G note at the bottom, right? So we haven't removed the root. We've just taken one of the doubles. We have 3 G's in this chord. We took one of them and raised it. So there's the G's are in there and the A is in there, which is the 9th. Okay, pretty neat sound. Another thing that you can do is you can lower the roof, right? You can take one of those roots and lower it 1 fret. What that does is it gives you this sound of the major 7th. Okay, very easy to do. I've got 3 G's in this chord. I picked the high one and I lowered it 1 fret. So now we have an add 9 sound just by taking the root and raising it 2, and we have a major 7th sound just by taking the root and lowering 1. Very easy things to do, but a very interesting sound that you get from these chords. Definitely a very beautiful sound. We have G, G add 9, G major 7th, and back to regular G. Let's take an A major chord. I'm going to do an A major chord on the inside strings here. So we're going to have, we're going to leave off the high 2 strings. That way we can bar across a regular old A major chord at the 2nd fret. And what we're going to do is take that G string and we're going to raise that 2 frets. That's the A note on the G string, 2nd fret. We're going to play 4th fret. We use my pinky to grab that. So we have A for 2, A add 9, raising that roof, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that same note that we just raised and we're going to lower it 1. Oh, there we go. There's our major 7th sound. And back to A. So here it is all together. Again. So just by knowing one of the root notes, we can get some really beautiful sounds there. We can do this on minor chords too. Let's try it with a minor chord. So here, let's do E minor. Okay, so we have E minor, and we're going to pick a root. Let's pick the, we have 3 roots in this one. So we have an E on the low string, we have an E 2nd fret on the D string, and then we have an open E on the high E string. We're going to pick the one in the middle on the D string. So we have, there's our E minor. Now we're going to raise that 2 frets. Then we have E minor with an add 9 there, right? And then we're going to take that same note, lower it 1 to the 1st fret. So we have an E minor with a major 7th. Very tense sound. And then back to the E minor. Here it is. Well, where can you see this in the real world, right? This sounds great here because it's isolated, but how about in songs? Well, everything I did, I can't play the song. I don't own Stairway to Heaven, right? But if you think about it, you've all played it. Look at the 2nd chord of Stairway to Heaven, right? The 1st chord is a minor type chord. And what happens in the 2nd chord? Exactly what we've done here, a 9th and a major 7th. And that is a beautiful chord there. How about one more easy tip to get some really, really cool sounds out of the chords that you already know? That's arpeggiating the chords. So arpeggios are the chord notes. And usually when you hear about arpeggios, it's thought well, you play them in order: root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth, and on like that. The guitar, when we play a chord shape, it doesn't always work out nicely that the root is first and the third and then the fifth. Well, so we're gonna just play the chord notes one at a time. They don't have to be in order. The guitar, actually, to me, it sounds better when they're not in order. It's more interesting. So we play our blocky chords that we play all the time, and all you got to do is just play one note at a time. Or mix it up, strum a couple beats and then play one note at a time. You can do it with the pick. You can do it finger style. I'm going to show you something called Travis picking here. And Travis picking, we're going to do a regular old C major chord. And we're going to take the inside 4 strings of the C major, the A, D, G, and B string. And we're going to do a little picking pattern with that. So we're going to play the A string and the B string together. I'm using my thumb and my middle finger. All right. And then we're going to take the thumb, play the D string, the inside, use our first finger to our pointer finger to play the G string, right? So we have, and then we're going to go back down to the low string with the thumb, and then middle finger is going to get the B string, and then we're going to finish off with the 2 inside strings again. So it's a little pattern. Get fast, but much more interesting than right. Okay, that's great. Let's try it on over another chord. Let's try a G chord. Okay, so we're gonna do the outside 2 strings, which are both G notes, and then the 2 middle strings, the D string open and the G string open. Same pattern. All right, so we're going to take C major, G major. Didn't have to add anything, didn't have to add any notes. All we're doing is putting a little rhythm to them, breaking the chord notes up a little bit, and some instant, beautiful sounds out of your chords. Another thing that you can do is you can do some hammer-ons with those. An open string and then hammering on the note of the chord. So there you go. There's 3 super easy ideas on how to get beautiful sounds out of your chords instantly. I hope you got something out of this. And if you knew a few of these, I hope you're getting some ideas what to do with your chords. A few things before we go today. If this is shaky ground for you and you don't really understand how chords work, I recommend my course, Chord Foundations. It's the 206 level in the Academy. It's a 12-week training course. It's basic chord theory. That means that you'll learn the chords that you will actually come across in songs, the reason they sound the way they do. And you'll start with the basics. You work through theory of the major, minor, augmented, and diminished triads, and then all types of the 7th chords, major 7th, minor 7th, dominant 7th, half diminished 7th. You'll learn where they came from, why they work, and what the intervals are that they are constructed with. But this is not on sale on its own. This is only available to Academy members. So head on over to playguitaracademy.com. And this is the last week for the pre-order price on solos that make sense. This is my course about chord tone targeting. Playing aimless solos will be a thing of the past. You'll be able to create effortless guitar licks that match your song perfectly every single time. And if you take advantage of this pre-order discount, this is the last week. This is going to help you to get control over your note choices. You can move seamlessly between strong and weak notes and use tension and release in your solos. Also, arpeggio sequence, approach notes, quarter note, 8th note, and 16th note drills in your daily practice. It's awesome and it's coming soon. So go ahead, grab it before time runs out. I'd like to thank Jan over at Robust Themes. I'm working on a whole new website and it is fantastic. They're the reason that the Academy looks so good, and we're bringing this to the whole website. So probably by next week, go over there and check it out. Okay. All right. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below and subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, please leave a favorable Apple Podcast or iTunes review. It is the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you, what are you waiting for? Play Guitar Academy's here. Join the world's most exciting and carefully planned guitar system, and together we will build your online home base for guitar. Thanks again. I will see you in the next episode.